Web3 TV.
Welcome back to Freedom with Web3 podcast. I'm your host, Cristina Najera, and today I have a very important guest in the podcast. Welcome, Murad. He is a crypto analyst and also he is a famous Twitter personality. How are you doing today?
Hi, Cristina. Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm very excited to hear more about you. You mentioned stop trading and believe in something. In crypto, lots of people think that they need to be traders to be in the space. However, you are breaking this barrier and you are giving the opportunity to people to enter the space by telling them something that they maybe didn't hear before. So we love to understand why this is so important to understand for them.
Yeah. So there's kind of several bullet points to understand here for the context. So first of all, if you study past crypto cycles, whether it was the one that ended in 2013, the one that ended in 2017, or the 2021 one, you will know that out of 100 people that have made significant sums of money, maybe 95 of them weren't active traders. They were people that bought the right thing relatively early and held for a year or more. This is statistically the most likely way for people to have made it, right? Attention spans are collapsing very quickly around the world, not only in media, but obviously in finance as well. This cycle is very different. Now, instead of having 5 coins per day, we're having 75,000 new coins per day. And so my belief is your odds of winning in the so-called trenches or trading actively are going to be progressively lower as this year goes by, because the amount of coins that are going to get created per day is going to increase rapidly, right? Even 6 months ago, that number was only 5,000 coins per day. Now it's 75,000 coins, right? And as I've predicted for the entirety of last year, this year in 2025, we'll probably reach a point where there's going to be 500,000 new coins per day, million coins per day, etc., right? So your odds, your probability of finding sort of a needle in the haystack, so to speak, are going to diminish gradually as well. And you have to ask yourself, in that world, what are you going to buy? What are you going to invest in, right? If you kind of continue that train of logic further, you will see that, most retail people in crypto, they're not like full-time crypto people that are in front of their screens for 18 hours a day, right? There are people with families, with jobs. They want to buy something and hold for at least a few months, right? And then you have to ask yourself, like, do those people want to gamble? In my opinion, they don't. They want to buy and hold something for a few months. And couple that with the fact that when TradFi institutions, some of which are already starting to dabble in memes, when they're going to be investing in these assets, trading these assets, they're not going to be trading like the low caps, the new launches, the pump funds, etc., right? They're going to be buying something that is at least a mid cap or more, something that's established, something that already has critical mass. And the way I see it is this cycle, a lot of people don't want to buy something that's like the biggest because they perceive the upside to be limited, at least locally. And at the same time, a lot of people don't want to buy the new launches because obviously the risk of something going negative 90% in a single day is much higher, right? So I've been saying this for the past, I think, 8 or 9 months. And I think this still remains to be the case. I think the sweet spot is in the middle, where you still have like 50, 100x upside, but those assets aren't going to kind of go down 99% in a single day, right? So that's kind of where I think the game theory is headed.
Interesting. Most people assume that serious tech altcoins are the future of crypto. However, meme coins are getting all the attention. Why do you think meme coins are dominating this market?
Yeah. So the way I see it is 99.9% of altcoins that have ever existed have been meme coins all along. They're just meme coins with a techie flavor, right? They're meme coins with like a technological sounding marketing, branding, PR, websites, serious people in suits on the team page, etc. But at the end of the day, they're still meme coins, you know? No one is using these products. And in 99% of cases, their valuations far outpace their revenues, right? So the way I see it is that most altcoins that have ever existed have been simply meme coins with more steps. You know, that's reason one. Reason two is, you know, there are almost 400 billion worth of unlocks coming on the tech side of alts, on the VC side of alts in the coming several years. This is going to be a headwind for tech altcoin growth and tech altcoin valuations. This is why we've seen altcoins underperform horribly this cycle, and specifically in 2024. And meme coins have stolen all the thunder. You know, when you're in an asset, you want most of the supply, you want most of the holders to be true believers that aren't going to sell until like hundreds of billions valuations, trillions, whatever they believe in, right? When it comes to tech alts, there's going to be consistent selling pressure. They can't compete with the onslaught of new coins anymore because, again, in the past cycles, you had 100 coins, now you have millions. So it's a completely different game. And VCs, angel investors, they're all going to be selling as soon as they receive the coins, right? So that makes you catching like a 10x, 50x, 100x much more difficult. You know, couple this, and I think this is going to be the biggest reason. In 2017, you had a lot of altcoins such as Ethereum, not Ethereum in 2015, 2014, but Ethereum, Link, BNB, they all launched at like $25 to $35 million valuations. Now, this cycle, you see altcoins that have almost no users launch at 25 billion, which is 1,000 times bigger, right? And so, you know, retail, even they by now understand that if you buy something that's already 25 billion, especially if it's a tech alt with heavy VC bags that are yet to unlock, you know, it's probably not a good investment. You know, people have caught up to this. And essentially the way I see it is meme coins, they are a reincarnation of the ICO wave that we saw in 2017, where launches are starting at much smaller valuations. The price discovery is organic. You know, there's much fewer insiders. You know, there's a ton of coins on the tech slash VC altcoin side where under one name or another, effectively the insiders own 85% of the supply, right? And, you know, meme coins essentially, they are a vampire attack on crypto tech tokens, right? So people are realizing that all of these things are meme coins. So why don't we just buy the things that are actual meme coins that are not lying to you about what to expect, that have no roadmaps, that have no execution risk, and that are much more honest and organic in their nature. And I think this is just off the top of my head. There's like 20 other reasons, but these are the core reasons why meme coins are dominating right now. They've dominated in 2024, and I believe they're going to continue dominating until the very end of the cycle. So I'm very bullish on them this year as well.
Yes, how does these insiders holding a big percentage of the tokens affects the long-term success of a coin?
Yeah, so in the case of the tech alts, VC alts, you know, they say 30% foundation, 20% team, 20% investors, 20% ecosystem, whatever it is. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they control 80-85% of the supply. And one way or another, this gradually gets unlocked over the coming 2-3 years, and it gradually gets dumped for USDT, USDC, whatever you want to call it, right? The beauty of meme coins is that all of the supply is out on day one. There's no unlocks. There's no hacks. There's no inflation. And people like this, and people are gravitating to this because people want to feel like they're an equal participant in the story, in the narrative, rather than simply be exit liquidity for other people. So this is what I think has been happening in crypto for the past 10 years. I call this global IQ arbitrage. So tech teams, quote unquote, coupled with crypto VCs, San Francisco, Hong Kong, wherever they may be located, right? They exploit the fact that retail, they mistakenly think of tokens as quasi-equity, right? They see a logo, they see a ticker, they see a team, and they think that a crypto altcoin is the same as a stock. But of course, we know that's not the case. In most cases, what it really is just a meme coin that's loosely attached to some piece of software. And I think I've actually been saying this since 2017. You can dig up tweets from 2017, 2018 of me saying this. But unfortunately, it took 6-7 years for the market to catch up to this. And the ultimate conclusion is that meme coins are taking over because they are a true representation of what crypto is. And what crypto really is, what meme coins and altcoins actually both are, they're simply tokenized communities. They're tokenized communities that use different techniques, whether it's memes or whether it's tech, to effectively increase the valuation of their token. And because a lot of people are catching up to the things that I'm talking about, they're switching over from altcoins to memes. And this is essentially one of the big reasons for the Memecoin supercycle.
Yes, people have been told to invest in projects with real utility. However, you have mentioned that meme coins have more utility than these altcoins. Would you like to share more about that?
Yeah. So, frankly, I think all of the utility stuff is a complete farce. It's complete nonsense. There's really only two things that matter. And essentially, meme coins, a lot of people think they are a degenerate thing. I actually think they are a representation of the fact that crypto is becoming more mature and they're actually acting as a purifier force. Now it's much more harder to essentially scam on the altcoin side. Essentially, what's going to happen is back in the day, you had all these coins. Were they utility tokens? Were they governance tokens? Were they tech projects? It was unclear what they were, right? Now, I think meme coins, what's going to happen is in the coming years, they're going to split the altcoin space into two, right? Mm-hmm. On one side, you're going to have things with real revenue. I call them cash flow coins, things that you can model, things that have real revenues, real profits, and hopefully they will be distributing some of these dividends to their holders on chain, right? And, we have 400 years of history about how to value these kinds of assets. On the other hand, you're going to have meme coins. And meme coins, they essentially capture, they capture community, they capture art, they capture speculation, they capture narratives, they capture attention, and they capture all of these intangible things. I like to say that meme coins tokenize the intangible, right? The thesis behind meme coins is somewhat similar to the thesis behind NFTs, but this time around, instead of having 10,000 illiquid JPEGs, you're going to have one single liquid coin, and I think meme coins are going to be 500 times bigger than what NFTs were, right? I'm on the record predicting meme coins to reach $1 trillion. I think that's going to happen sooner or later. And I believe that's just natural evolution of late stage capitalism, so to speak.
Yes, and also people think that they can come to crypto and they can invest in a meme coin and they can generate lots of wealth and they can retire their families and crazy things. So I want to understand more, how do you see this concept of generating generational wealth and meme coins?
Yeah, so it's not as easy as it sounds. You need to be investing in coins that can actually become multi-cycle. Mm-hmm. And even though there have been 6 million coins created this cycle alone, there's probably only going to be 3 or 4 that are going to end up being multi-cycle. Again, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to buy and hold, which is my whole philosophy, then you really need to do your research. On-chain metrics, communities, holder rate growth, artwork, media, all of these things matter, right? If you're just trying to trade, it's possible, but I think your odds are much lower. ultimately, like I've already said, I think most people, they just want to buy and hold. And I always kind of speak and describe things with the assumption that you're somebody who just wants to buy and hold for a year, for example, right? And if you are somebody who wants to buy and hold for a year, you want to buy things that already have critical mass. Critical mass means they already have a large community that continues to grow week to week. Not every meme coin can say that. They already have like listings that are happening at least every few weeks, you know, and they have on-chain metrics which show that their holders, they really hold for a long time. They don't sell, they believe, they show up every day. All of these things are important to analyze. And so it's not as easy as coming in and buying a random thing, because if you do that, 97% chance you're going to lose. You really need to do your research to sort of separate the strong from the weak, so to speak.
Yes, and something very interesting is that people keep scrolling on social media, they spend lots of time there. And in crypto, people are making money when they are scrolling on X, because as you mentioned, they show up, they research, they come and they find new tokens or new meme coins. So what do you recommend to them? Where they should be focused on now to be able to make it?
Yeah. So I actually hate social media. I think it has created more aggregate unhappiness in the world than literally anything else on the history of Earth. But no one talks about it, because instead of like one person suffering a lot, what happens is it just gradually pushes down the happiness levels of like billions of people. You're kind of boiling the frog slowly. That being said, Twitter has always been the sort of the Amsterdam trade square of the crypto industry. So whether you like it or not, you have to be there. Honestly, I'm on the record recommending to people, if you're just starting in crypto, one of the best things you can do, as crazy as it sounds, is to just scroll Twitter for like 6 hours plus per day, because like that's where the earliest things happen, right? That's where the earliest discussions happen. That's where the earliest ideas come about, earliest trends. So, at the end of the day, crypto is a social game in a way. It's a people game, and people are on Twitter. It's effectively our town square. So you have to be on Twitter.
Yes, and nowadays people find meaning or purpose or identity in different ways. Before they used to find meaning and purpose in religion. By now they are finding purpose on social media, on trends, on different online communities. Do you think meme coins are a way to find purpose as well?
Yeah, so this is the way I see it. Essentially, there's a generational divide where almost regardless where you are on the planet, but specifically let's focus on like the first world, the lives of Zoomers is going to be much more difficult than their boomer parents. For example, like back in the 70s, back in the 60s, a single man could have an entry-level job or just a regular job, regular middle-class job, and somehow he would end up having a wife, 3 kids, a house. All the kids would go to college. Obviously today, that's a complete pipe dream, right? And a lot of sort of community spaces, third spaces, things that used to give people meaning back in the past. Obviously, family formation is at an all-time low. Fertility is at an all-time low. People living alone in the Western world is at an all-time high. Mental health issues are at an all-time high, even though we have more abundance than ever before. You have to ask yourself why, right? It's because the mammal, it doesn't care about absolute levels of wealth. It cares about human connection, and it cares about like relative status. It cares about all things that are human. It cares about quote unquote the village. And all of these things have been broken by technology, essentially, right? And after COVID, they've accelerated even more. And so my theory is, a lot of people are finding like different outlets for this spiritual void. This is why video games are so huge right now. They're a vessel of escape, obviously. Some people are finding this like in the gym, CrossFit, keto diet, vegan diet, carnivore diet, meditation retreats, yoga, whatever you want to call it, right? You can kind of model all of these communities as if they are cults or mini cults, quasi cults. They all have a cult following. And then you kind of take this cult framework, you extend this further, and you realize that we've seen this with assets as well. We've seen this, obviously, how fanatical Tesla fanboys are, Apple stockholders. Obviously, this has extended to crypto as well. BTC, probably one of the strongest cults in the world right now. And we've seen similar things even with like Doge as well. Obviously, GME, AMC last cycle too. One of the things fueling all of this is what you said. It's people trying to find community, trying to find a place to belong, trying to find some kind of a journey, some kind of an adventure, some kind of a place to be, even if it's digital, right? And this is the reason for all of these mini cults emerging. They essentially give people a place to be. They give people, and the strongest ones are those where people come in and they don't leave, and where people come in and they make that thing their whole identity. So my whole thesis has been, you apply this level of thinking within meme coins. This is how you find the next Doge. This is how you find the next XRP. This is how you find the next BTC, right? One of my theories, by the way, is the more Bitcoin-like a meme coin culture is, the bigger it's gonna go. What does that mean? Because one of the angles from which you can view Bitcoin is it has perfected the art of cult building, right? Laser eyes everywhere, people being diehard maximalists, people making it their whole identity, talking to all their relatives, all their friends, everybody they can ever meet, creating artwork around it, making it their whole mission, etc., right? And I think if you find similar properties in memes, this is how you get those 100x, 1000x runners. And this is what I've been talking about for like the past half a year.
Wow, yeah, it's very interesting because now people are finding new ways to create their identity. And let's talk about, like creating a token or creating a community. If poor people are not becoming rich, there is no community.
Yep.
So can you explain more this concept?
Yeah, this is essentially the reason why altcoins are underperforming heavily this cycle and why meme coins are winning. Because this cycle, altcoins did not let poor people get rich, and meme coins did let poor people get rich. So the way you build a cult, the way you build a large, passionate community is you let poor people get richer, or you let middle-class people become much wealthier. This way, you create an army of people that essentially become full-time evangelists for your project. And here's the thing, and history proves this. Why? Because if you look at BTC, ETH, XRP, Link, Cardano, all of the coins that are often most referred to as cults in crypto, they've all at some point traded cheaply. And even before their big run-ups, they already had 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 holders. And once those run-ups happened, those people, that initial community, and as well as the people that have joined them along the way, they've become much wealthier than ever before. And this coin is everything to them. It's their family. It's their journey. It's the highlight of their life. It's their identity. And so as a thank you, but also as a way to get the token to continue going higher and higher, they invest in the community, but it's not just about money. They invest time, they invest energy, they invest their skills, they invest everything, time, everything. And we call this free cult labor. And essentially, this is why cults are so strong, is because you have essentially these people that are providing to the community. They're bull posting about it constantly, creating billboards in the real world, creating artwork, creating merchandise, recruiting other people to come in. And this is really what creates those like giant success stories in crypto. And this is what the VCs and tech founders this cycle have failed to understand, is if you don't build a community and, to make matters worse, you launch immediately at 30 billion, it's going to be down only. Because not only are you launching very expensively, but there's also no people that are passionate, that are expressing their passion about the project, right? And so meme coins are doing it this cycle. That's why I love them. That's why I'm going to continue to bull post them. And that's why I continue to be very optimistic about them for the rest of the year.
Yeah, 100%. And also, people care about, emotional connection, making money, not about reading white papers and reading about tech. So do you think this is one of the reasons why meme coins are winning?
Yeah, totally.
Because I think it's, that there is people think that they need to be very tech savvy or they need to understand technology to enter the space. However, when they see a meme coin, they don't need to learn anything new about technology. So I think this is a very good way for them to enter because they feel confident to start because they understand the full concept, which is not technical.
Yeah, exactly. This is like one of the 20 reasons why meme coins are winning right now. The learning curve is much less steep. Like if you, right now in 2024, if you went and started playing like World of Warcraft after it's already been out for like 23 years, the learning curve would be very steep because after all of those updates, there's so much for you to learn, It's the same with crypto. A newcomer, they would need to understand, blockchains, cryptography, like you said, white papers, restaking, yield farming, all of these different things and how they all kind of interact with one another. But meme coins, they're simple, It's a concept, it's an idea, it's a tokenized community, and you're exactly right. Because they're so much simpler, they're much more accessible to a wider demographic, which doesn't feel left out.
Yes, 100%. So what will be your advice to somebody who has zero knowledge about crypto and want to enter this space, where they should start?
First of all, understand where we are, or at least form an opinion where we are in terms of like the macroeconomy. Then understand where we are in the Bitcoin cycle. Then understand which altcoin categories have been performing well this cycle so far. So since 2022, since 2023, what has done well? You will understand that what has done well so far is meme coins. Then you need to come to sort of at least a loose opinion about how long we have more to go. I think this cycle is going to last until the end of the year, maybe late 2025, early 2026. Let's assume I'm right. Let's assume you have a similar opinion. You return your attention to meme coins. You're like, okay, what do I buy? There's 6 million created already, and there's another 75,000 being created per day. Again, you come back to this idea, which is risk versus reward or upside versus downside, right? In the last year, we've seen so many meme coins, even many that were big, come and go. And things that were popular in April, March, they've been bleeding down only. So you have to ask yourself, how do I pick a coin which is not going to follow that same fate? Because, here's the thing. It's easy to capture attention for a week, but the real winners, if you want to be a part of something that goes to 100 billion, 200 billion, 300 billion, it's easy to generate attention for a week, but can you maintain attention for a year, 2 years? And very few coins can do that. And this is again why I return to cults, right? So essentially my thesis is, if you come into meme coins, you have two choices. You can either gamble or like fast-paced trade, rotate, or you can invest in cults. And my whole thesis is like you have much better expected value and much higher chance of making it if you invest in cults. And then your choice is, okay, what are cults? You're going to make a list of like 15 maybe coins that classifies cults. And then within those 15, you need to make a choice about what you can support, study the on-chain metrics, study the rates of growth, study what and how much people are posting on Twitter, on TikTok, on Reddit, online, etc. And then make your decision. But I think that's where you start. Ultimately, at the risk of sounding a little bit too aggressive, I think people will realize that certain coins just have this special spark that is much stronger than others. Specifically, I would say personally, as many other people know, I'm very bullish on SPX 6900, and I'm very that's on Ethereum, and I'm very bullish on Giga, that's on Solana. So far, from my research, both quantitative and qualitative, I think these are the two strongest cults. These are the strongest. This is the strongest cult on Ethereum, and this is the strongest cult on Solana, respectively. I think they're going to be big leaders in 2025.
100%. And how early are we to start, or people who are just, coming into the Memecoin space, are they still early at this point?
The Memecoin space right now is about 100 billion. Obviously, 60 billion of that is Doge. And I think another 12 billion of that is SHIB. So if you ignore like the old cycle coins and focus on the cycle coins, you're looking at 30, 40 billion. I think the meme coin space as a whole will reach 1 trillion, whether it's this cycle, next cycle, doesn't matter, but I think it's going to 1 trillion. I believe we still have a long way ahead of us. And I think the strongest cults still have 100x plus ahead of them as well.
And Murad, can crypto bring more freedom?
Of course. I mean, that's the whole purpose. BTC has made storing wealth freer than ever before. And stablecoins have made payments freer than ever before as well. And I think their market caps, their volumes, their liquidity, their usage is going to continue increasing nonstop over the next 20 years. And overall wealth creation, social mobility, and just decentralized opportunities are wider than they've ever been. And I think right now, it can definitely bring freedom because anybody with an internet connection has a chance. And that's not something that was possible even 20, 30 years ago.
100%. And people didn't take Memecoin seriously. And now even the president of the United States launched his own Memecoin. What do you think about Trump? And how does it impact the Memecoin space?
Yeah, I think it's very bullish. Because A, it legitimized the space. B, just on that one day alone, we saw 1 million new people sign up on Moonshot, which effectively brings them on chain, and 3 million people overall in the last week that have effectively joined. They're brand new wallets, brand new addresses. In the first days of the presidency, Trump has already signed a lot of pro-business and pro-crypto laws. So ultimately, I think him creating a meme coin is just very bullish for the space. And effectively, it's a stamp of approval, and it acts to legitimize the space further. A lot of people that were skeptical about the space in the past now are going to be less skeptical because effectively the number one celebrity in the world is creating their own meme coin. So a lot of other people will follow as well. Generally, we'll see more meme coins overall, but I think the overall size of the overall pie will keep increasing as well. So in my mind, is bullish. 100%.
And I think you have nailed it, how to explain Web3 or crypto to other people. So for somebody who wants to onboard their family or onboard, somebody who has zero experience on this space, what would be the best way for them to showcase the value of crypto at this point, and how they can share what is a meme coin in a meeting or in a casual conversation?
Get a wallet, load it up with some USDC, load it up with some Solana, buy and sell a few coins. And ultimately, you need to understand that meme coins are, like I've already said, tokenized communities. So you need to see which ones do you resonate with? Which ones do you see yourself being a part of for multiple years, right? Which ones kind of align with your values, right? And all of this is very easily done now, just using your phone. So get a wallet, play around with it, invest in a few coins, and ultimately research the coins to see which ones align with you.
100%. And last question I have is that I'm very curious why you came up with all this information that was always there, but nobody wanted to talk about. What gives you the strength and to come and to speak very freely about something that nobody wanted to talk about before?
I've been in the space since 2013, so I've seen these cycles come and go. and I've seen how the narratives evolve, how altcoins evolve. And crypto has actually started like with these cypherpunk values, with these libertarian values. And that's how it was in 2015, 2016, 2017, during the ICO era. But for a variety of reasons, the space has become such that a lot of deals, a lot of fundraising, a lot of the processes have gotten very centralized. And correspondingly, the ownership of coins has gotten very centralized, which I think goes against the nature of the entire space. I mean, the team owning 85% of a coin, I think, is overkill. And that goes against the ethos of BTC, Ethereum, everything. And essentially, meme coins are bringing some of that purity back. They're bringing some of that decentralization back. So that's why I resonated with them almost immediately.
Yes, 100%. And also you mentioned that we need to think, when we think about meme coins, we need to think about meme coins that could become a brand. So how can that be possible in the future? It is because of the community, or it's because people are, thinking how they can put this somewhere else, or how they can utilize this brand in different places?
Yeah, so I think different meme coins will evolve in different ways, and that's what we'll see in the next 2 or 3 years, at least the ones that end up becoming huge and multi-cycle. I think some will become brands. I think some will become like investment DAOs. I think others will turn into companies. I think others will become some sort of like movements or like cults on another scale. These like mission coins, etc. So I think like there's no one way to skin a cat, so to speak, and they will evolve in a variety of ways. Essentially, I'm interested to see what different ones will do to kind of take it to the next level.
Yeah, and also we saw that AI coins were coming and were becoming a trend. However, we still have the meme coins. So do you think AI can take the space that meme coins were having before?
All of the AI coins are meme coins as well. They're, again, just meme coins with a techie flavor, right? So at the end of the day, what matters is the people. What matters is the holders. What matters is like how much are they diamond handing, how much they are supporting, how much they're hustling, like how much are whales retaining. And this is, at the end of the day, it's supply and demand of tokens. The token is the product, and the people are the product. So ultimately, when you're buying coins, you're buying people, you're buying the community, you're buying the holders, right? You're investing in the holders. And at the end of the day, the logic is the same for whether it's a meme coin or a tech coin or AI coin, doesn't matter. It's the people. And so what you're really studying is who the people are.
Amazing. Thank you, Murad. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Remember to share this with your friends, because everybody deserves to know more about Web3, AI, cryptocurrency, and blockchain. I'm Cristina Najera. See you next time.
Web3.tv